Hello, my GC co-creators from Honolulu in magnificent Hawaii with Dr. Porter today at the the World Congress Quantum Medicine. Yes. Exciting.
Very exciting here. A lot of interesting people, and consciousness is expanding as we speak.
Yes, I love it. There's so much juicy information out there, and it's time to, I feel, expose it on a very large scale. You have trained thousands, I read over 35,000 people in NLP and hypnosis, so you're definitely an expert. Let's start with just one little basic. How do you define quantum medicine? What is it?
Well, we're defining quantum medicine as take the smallest pieces that are going to make the massive changes that people need to make. Most people are looking for massive changes, and they're not looking at the smallest particles. We can change our thinking, which is a small piece, and that can have a rippling effect in our whole universe. And changes take place. So when we're talking about quantum medicine, we're talking about the practitioner's energy, the client's energy, and what's the subtle energy between them. And then all of the methods just become vehicles or tools to get consciousness to be there, to create a sacred space, in other words, for that change to take place. Whether it be naturopathy, using ZenFrames, or using Skio, whatever it is, whatever the technology is, it's really just to create a space in time where spirit can be there and as consciousness.
So you wrote many books, you wrote many bestsellers, and you're all about awakening that genius inside, about living fully, even though if we have those overloaded type of lives. Right. Do you have some things to share about us and what you have discovered as to what can really awaken our genius daily?
Well, I think the biggest thing is most people are living behind the curve. If you think about time, like they say island time here in Hawaii, right? Time's happening differently here. It's slower and some people can't handle it. But time is shifting for everyone. Yeah. And most people don't understand how time is organized because we organize it differently for each one of us. So really, to awaken our genius, most people don't know what genius means, so maybe I should define that for them. In Roman mythology, they said we have a genie that houses our talents and skills. And if we use those genies, which some people might call spirit guides or teachers or whatever, being brought up Catholic, they might be our saints or whatever, but they're guiding us. And when we use them in Roman mythology, they said that we were a genius. So it's not about school or anything like that. It's about using these unseen forces that are around us that can assist us in getting our result. And one of the things that they can do, like this consciousness can do, is we can predict the future. Our brain is a pattern recognizing device, and our consciousness can go ahead of time, so ahead of the curve of what's going on, and predict, because 97% of what's going to happen tomorrow we know about today. So we only need to be predictive of that 3%. Once we know that, we can shift or make changes, subtle changes to maybe going right instead of left, or making a decision to do this or do that, pick up that book or take that training, and it's going to shift our whole paradigm in our life. So really, to awaken your genius is take the time. Most people don't there's two sacred moments in our day, really, that for everyone. Now, if you get into quantum physics, then you can produce these or manufacture these times whenever you want. But when you first wake up in the morning, you're going from super consciousness to consciousness. Mm-hmm. You're going from everything to something, which we call, in my case, I'm Patrick, right? So I become Patrick in the morning, and I play out this role, and I have all these skill sets that somehow I remember from yesterday's and what my tomorrows are. But we can start bringing information in from the unseen to the seen world. And then every night when we go to sleep, we can assess how we've been using that and then tap into it again and use the brain, which is 100 billion neural bit processor. Every neuron is more capable than a Cray computer. That's the supercomputers we have on Earth. So we have 100 billion of them, each of us do, and we can get them to work for us or against us. So if we know that we did the best we could today, and then when we go to sleep, we relax our body, we get rid of the excess energy. Our bodies store energy. And if we don't have a healthy way to get rid of it, like eating healthy, exercising, meditating, then our body starts to implode. It basically like sending too much energy through a light bulb. But at night, if we can consciously now, like mindfully, relax our bodies and liberate our mind and stay conscious in that alpha theta state, which happens just as we go into sleep, now we get a glimpse into the infinite. And if we start doing that, then we'll awaken our genius. What will happen is our dreams will become reality. The reality is, unfortunately, most people don't know this. You can't live your dreams through your sleep. You've got to dream while you're awake. So what we're going to do is we're going to start awakening the dream. And when you live your dreams, you don't need to sleep as much, but you're still going to get that recharge that happens each night. So I think those two moments, if somebody can wake up knowing that today it's a spiritual experience. We're here by divine appointment. Every person we meet is supposed to be there. They're scripted. We actually enrolled them into our play of life. And whether we like it or not, we picked our parents, the whole scene. Steven Spielberg wrote this for us, and George Lucas put the soundtrack in. So when we're going through our life, we need to understand that, and not that we like it at times. Sometimes we might want something different, but the reality is once we take the power back and say, hey, this is my perception of reality, and then you can start to change it, and you do that through your dreams.
There are different realities happening in parallel to each other's, and it's our choice by tapping in that genius part. We are actually living that best possibility. Tell us more about those parallel realities.
Right. Well, there's an infinite number of possibilities from any moment in time. Yeah. So right here as we're speaking, when we leave, there's an infinite number we could take. Now we're going to take one, and if we consciously take it, then we're making a choice. If we don't, then we're going into default. And so there's all these realities happening all the time. Every moment has that choice. So there's an infinite number of me as consciousness, not the me that's standing here, but the other ones that are part of my oversoul, if you want to call it that, or your consciousness. So you're basically magnetizing yourself into those realities that you want to live. Some people might say something traumatic happens in their life, and then they wake up and it's like they have a whole new world. They really shifted. They shifted their perception of reality, and they're in a new paradigm. They're in a new place. They brought their personal power into that moment. And as people do that, I like to tell people that you don't create reality. There's a power greater than us that does that. All the realities exist. So what we do is we magnetize, we become the strange attractor in our life. And in physics, the strange attractor just draws things to it, and they don't understand it, but if it's supposed to happen on August 15th, at 2 o'clock, that happens. And so there's a guiding force to the cosmos, which some people know as astrology. And but people can rise above that, like Paramahansa Yogananda. He was supposed to get married and have 2 kids, and he says, no, I want to be a guru. And so he changed the karmic path that he was supposed to be on. But so you can rise above your karma, if you will. That's the cause and effect of your life or lives, and you can start to live the life that you choose. And that's what we're talking about here at Quantum University and in the quantum consciousness.
Are things accelerating and things happening so that right now it feels sometimes that we have, it's possible to let go of some karma and some past life, and that free will is even more so present. It feels like we're gaining our potential, we're claiming our potential, we're living greater lives, and we can let go of some things that are blocking us. Oh,
definitely. I think that even though it would appear on the surface, if you're watching television, these like drug commercials and things, that the people are being controlled, but the reality is just 20 years ago, only 5% of the population had any concept of consciousness or metaphysics or anything like that. Now it's about 30%. So there'll be a tipping point, where we'll get to a point where it'll just be commonplace. When they spent $39 billion on alternative medicine this year in the U.S. So we're talking about, that's a lot of money for people to say, I want to take back my power. I want to be healthy. I want to live the life that I choose, not the life that's been predestined by somebody else. So that's kind of where we're at, and I think that there's a lot of talk about moving from 3rd dimension to 4th dimension. We're already 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional beings, so with our causal bodies and the energy systems that we have, but I think now we're getting a glimpse into it. Like the movies What the Bleep, doing that, The Secret, those kind of movies are opening up consciousness, because so many people are really, when you hear truth, you get those chills, like I get hair standing up, when you get into that moment, people know. There's they call it a naviance, where you know what you know. And so that when that truth resonates, it's like a tuning fork. So when someone here, like at the conference, they're tuned to that. The tuning fork then starts tuning the other forks around them. And that's the resonant frequency that we're talking about with quantum medicine, is we're creating this resonant frequency, and then just by being in the presence of another person, they start to change. This auric field that we have just starts to change and resonate in the morphogenetics that happen. They don't understand it, but it's like, wow, I want to feel more like that. So that's why groups like this, last year there were about half the group that's here now. It's growing by leaps and bounds. I think the university is now in 40 countries. So I mean, and with the internet, I mean, now you can just pick up your smartphone and you pretty much know everything in the universe, right? You just, you got to sift through it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way consciousness works. So there's a lot out there. You got to find out what resonates for your truth and get you what you really want.
It seems though that there is this step, this leap to do at some point, and really all of us have to go through this stepping in this unknown and saying, you know what, I'm gonna make that shift for myself. I'm gonna speak out my truth and be vulnerable and start living this authentic life from the heart. Because before that, it seems like we're still stuck in an old paradigm and an old way of thinking. And the magic really happens when we release it all, doesn't it?
Right. The reality is that we're all encoded to have this breakthrough.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we've been programmed to have breakdowns.
Yeah.
Because somebody says, well, this happened in my life, that happened in my life, it's so bad. Well, that's because consciousness is saying, wake up.
Yeah.
This isn't the way you're supposed to go. You know, it's going to make sure that you stay on your karmic path, as it were, but we want to rise above that and say, I want to make a conscious choice. So when somebody's living with conscious intention in becoming what is known as a conscious creator, then life becomes more powerful. Your life becomes more passionate. You start drawing to you the right friends, the right kind of jobs, the right employment. Everything seems to work for you. The songs on the radio seem to be the ones that you want to hear. There's synchronicity in everything that happens. And if your life's not working that way, it's not that you're wrong or broken. It's just that you don't know what you don't know. So it's about exploring, and you know, there's that sense of exploration. I think that's why even in the Bible it says you have to become like a child. You know, and really for the world, if you could wake up like every morning was Christmas, and you know, to the present, you know, as people say, the present's the gift, and we go ahead and we live this life saying, wow, I'm going to live to the best of my ability, as if today's the last day of my life, but I'm going to live forever. Then, because we're never going to die, we're going to be somewhere doing something, you know, as consciousness. So, but what is it we're going to do today? What's our added value? What's our plus? Because when we become a plus to conscious reality, then conscious reality pays us back 10, 20, 30 fold in ways we never expected. It might not be the way we want, but it's going to give us something back.
Tell us what happened in the brain, in the mind, when that happens, or for that to happen.
Well, most people have had the aha experiences where like the scales fell away from their eyes and they started to see life the way it truly is. Well, these dendrite connections in the brain, the plasticity in the brain, that's our interface. You know, without our consciousness, the body, that's why when somebody dies they say, oh, that's dead weight. It actually weighs differently and feels differently than when it's animated with consciousness. So this consciousness, the brain happens to be one of our conduits, and then through the glandular system and through the body system. But intelligence and the cellular memory, and of course Dr. Lipton will be talking more about this today, but in the process of our body and how our brain works, the brain is the conduit. So it's kind of like if you had a router going to the internet, you know, you have your computer at home, that's our brain, but you have to have these neural pathways in order to get consciousness to flow through. So when even I like to tell people about Saul on the way to Damascus, he gets hit by a bolt of lightning. Well, when you have this awakening, that bolt of lightning was a neurological storm that happened in his brain. And a lot of people see that when they have this experience. It's when the two hemispheres of the brain collide, and now you have these dendrite connections and these neural pathways opening up. And once they're open and functioning, you feel good. You don't want to close them. So that's what learning's all about too. When somebody starts to learn something new, they start to feel good. They don't know what that is. You literally become addicted to learning. You know, and you go, wow, I want to read that. You basically you have a voracious appetite to learn. And that's what happens with consciousness in the brain. And the brain wants to keep learning. It doesn't want to disconnect. And you know, there's no reason for what's happened in the past years here. In our world really is growing in such a way that the people today, like my age group and a little bit older, they're refusing to go blindly into old age. They want to keep their conscious awareness about them. They want to keep learning and growing. I mean, I just saw somebody sent me a thing that they had a beauty pageant for women 50 years old and older. And I'm looking at them going, wow, they look like 25, 26-year-olds. You know, so I mean, people are doing things physically for their body. They're doing things for their mind. And of course, with quantum medicine, we're talking about doing it with both, that you don't have to have one or the other. You know, you don't have to be cerebral and let your body go. You can be physically fit, have a sound mind, have the kind of life you want, and basically know that it's happening from an unseen world to a seen world that we all agree that it looks like this. Or at least I think you believe it looks the same way that I do. You know what I mean? So there's this perception and reality issue. And I think that the brain is it's a pattern recognizing machine, but it also because we know there's more here than what we see. There's more to this world than what we're experiencing. And our brain, as we open our consciousness to it, if it's true that we only use 5 to 10% of our brain, what's that other 90% going to do once we activate it? And that's what we're really about here, is how do we activate our full potential?
Tell us about some of the technologies that you see are particularly efficient, or that you have yourself developed to use that full potential, to awake the brain to its full potential.
Well, quite a few people know things like HoloSync or HemiSync and those kind of technologies. We use a technology called neurosensory algorithms, that is the way the brain goes using sound in harmonics to balance the brain. Most people under stress, flight or fight, will shut down one hemisphere of the brain, which means you shut down half your intelligence. So part of it is opening up. So you can do that with sound. And what we've done is we've not only used sound, we also use light. So with the flickering, what we call frequency following response, we can train the brain to go into these states of consciousness and experience expanded states. So that's through light and sound technology. There's also people here at the event here that use things like the Indigo unit, which uses subspace and radionics kind of thing, that they use it where it's using stellar waves. Our brain transmits stellar waves. So if we could decode them, it'd be like we're all broadcasting FM or AM radio station, but we all have our own frequency. So we all have our own lock and key. That's why people can't read our minds. But those frequencies are still happening, and they know that our body resonates at certain frequency levels. So they use this almost like Star Trek technology to balance out the body and get rid of what we term delta imprints, which is unconscious imprints in the body that they don't even know where they came from. They're just there. So that's one way. We also have iridologists here. So you don't have to have technology really. There's, technology started from drums to candles to, those are all technologies to get people into altered states. But they now know that the body is a mirror. So they can look at your eyes and see what's wrong, or maybe what's going on with your body. They can look at your ears, iridology. They have homeopathics, which a lot of people don't understand, but the energy of something, that's where the quantum medicine comes in. They can actually put the energy of something that will make you well into something that if let's say natural sciences out there, the university took it, they said, there's nothing in here, because they're not looking for the right thing. They're not looking for the energy. So they talk about homeopathics and how to mix those and match those. And a lot has to do with just nutrition. A lot of people don't know that. Virginia Hunt from California University did a study that if you pray over your food, your energy increases, but you change the energy structure of the food that you're consuming. So regardless of the prayer you use, doesn't matter what denomination, just you're honoring that food.
Gratitude.
Yes, the gratitude of having that food there and doing it. And that changes the structure of the food, just like they did with the water, where you can bless the water and things like that. So we're talking about just subtle changes to what you do. Instead of just gobbling down the food in a hurry and being stressed out and worried, not realizing that's what happened, but thanking the food, whether it be vegetarian or not, whatever's going on, you just need to honor it and know that it's going to build your body. And then your body takes it in differently, because you've become an alchemist at that point, and you're changing the structure of the food that you're consuming.
How fast do you think we can evolve from here on, and what are you expecting to see in the next years, decades?
Well, I do think that eventually a lot of what we're teaching here at the conference will be mainstream. We're already seeing it in TV shows. They're kind of making a joke of it or whatever. It used to be said if you saw it on TV, it would be in reality in 20 years. If you look at the old Star Treks, you'd say, "Wow, that's corny." Now we're beyond that. There's certain things. So I think in the next 20 years, we're going to see some massive changes. There's what's happening globally. That just seems to be destroying our planet. There's already conscious changes going on that can change that. People like Fred Bell, who's Alexander Graham Bell's grandson, they developed a water purification system that can take nuclear sludge, and make it drinking water. It's already available. There are people who are going back and reclaiming Nikola Tesla's technology so we can have free energy. So I think
Traveling through time.
Yes, that's right. So, what is time, really? So if that's what I'm talking, everything is happening. What's happening on television when they talk about how the universe has been formed, it's really we're particles of light traveling through space and time. We're not really standing here in Hawaii this moment. Every moment we're in a different place in the universe, because our planet's moving at 144,000 miles an hour, and our solar system is moving at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour, and our galaxies moving around other galaxies, and we're never in the same place. So who knows where the universe is going to take us? But I think as intention here, we do know that the planet has a consciousness, and we play a role in that as a custodian of consciousness, and we can help our brothers that are unaware now to wake up just by our vibratory frequency that we choose to live our life with. And I think there'll be some big shifts, some big changes in consciousness. We're seeing it in like even Libya today. You know, they're not putting up with dictatorship. Now, they're not doing it in the most peaceful way, but sometimes, you know, it's going to happen because the earth itself doesn't want that anymore. So there's going to be changes that happen.
Unfortunately, sometimes it has to go, and it seems like it has to go through suffering.
Yes. Yeah. On the soul level or on the reality level, it's just a blink in time. I mean, our life is like putting on a shirt, and tomorrow we'll put on another one. Yeah. You know, so I think it's just a matter of, but we have to keep the perspective that and honor what's happening. You know, and I think that we're going to see some big changes. And I think, look at our children today, how they embrace technology. I mean, it's easy for them. Even like your show. I mean, how many millions of people can watch your show just by going on the internet, looking at it, where before you would have an influence over a small population in your hometown. Now literally the world can watch you and see your journey and who you're talking with.
Yes, this is very thrilling to be part of this, and thank you for sharing all this information and more. I know there's a lot more information and videos online, and you'll find your way through all these, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest. Take care.
We send you much aloha from beautiful Hawaii and the World Congress of Quantum Medicine. Bye. Bye.